Welcome back to the Fox Robbins Business Show. Great to have you back again. And we're going to, this is going to be a great show because it's written by none other than Coach Robbins. Speaking of which, I'm the lowly co-host on this show, Bill Fox, but the star of the show is the illustrious. He's ingenious, he's luminescent and multifarious Coach Robbins.
Multifarious? Ooh, that sounds evil.
Fox Robbins, business show is all about developing your very best business ideas. We want to help, we want to advise, we want to encourage, we want to suggest, we want to point in new directions, whatever we can do to help and encourage small business. And today, this presentation is on closing sales, and it was prepared by Coach Robbins. Coach is constantly called upon, to make presentations. I mean, it's ordinary and constant in his kind of work.
Just 2 to 3 times a week.
And this is about closing sales. Now, the one thing he wanted to say about that, he'd say, I'm a businessman, I don't sell. I'm the business owner, I don't sell. Let me put it to you this way. If you're in business, you're selling.
Right.
Just put it that way. Say selling, you're thinking, I'm hustling or peddling,
No.
like to a customer. You selling to the banker, to the vendor, to the regulatory authority, to
employee,
investors, employees,
your boss,
whatever,
I love it when somebody comes to me and they say, I want to start a business I'm really good at, and they give me some technicals. I write software, I can cook, great, but I don't want anything to do with selling. Okay, get a day job. Somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to ring the cash register.
Running a business, expressing yourself, communicating, is a huge skill. Mm-hmm. Now you got to say, we've talked about this so many times, that the Small Business Administration, the SBA, has said over many decades. This is not brand new; it's been around forever. That somewhere in the neighborhood of 80% of all brand new businesses fail in the first 5 years, and out of that number, I mean, half of that number flunks the test in the first year, and it tapers off from then. But it's a huge mortality rate, and it shouldn't be.
It doesn't have to be.
It shouldn't be that. That's not say, that's just a given. The heck, it's a given. It's not right. Selling, and this idea that I'm the owner, I don't sell. I bake the cakes, or I make the cookies and the cakes, and I don't sell. Or I tighten the joints. I'm a plumber and I don't sell. If you have that attitude, you better start changing it right now.
Well, no, you can work for somebody else. Because somebody's going to have to sell your services to go in and do the plumbing, or somebody's going to have to sell that cake. And also, even if you do own the business and, like you said, you're the baker, well, guess what? You've got to talk to your employees. You've got to communicate with them, and they've got to do some selling.
Well, if you're raising money, do you think you're not selling a proposition if you talk to an investor? Are you kidding me?
That's the most important one.
Coach, the first thing that you say in your presentation, apparently, and I'm sure you have very good reason for saying this.
I do.
Time kills deals.
Absolutely. When it comes to sitting down with a prospect and you're talking to the prospect and you're trying to get an order, that's what you're there for, and the prospect says to you, well, I want to think about it, okay? You haven't done your job, A, or B, that person doesn't have the authority to make a decision, and you just wasted your time. So we'll talk about some of those other issues later, but the longer it takes between the time that you make your presentation and the time that that person gives you a purchase order, the deal is dying a slow death. Okay, time kills deals is probably one of the most important mantras of a good salesperson. That you're there, you're talking to the client, you have to learn to close the deal.
You've set the stage for one of my all-time favorites.
What's that?
Nothing succeeds quite so well as a deal whose time has come.
There you go. That's it. And the time has come when you're sitting in front of the prospect saying, yeah, press hard, the fourth copy is yours.
And we're going to talk in this presentation is understanding timing.
Right.
That's really, in fact, that's a whole heck of a lot to do with your entire
It's a
presentation.
whole process to, the sales process, yeah.
And speaking of sales process, Coach, there's prospect, decision makers, influencers, problem. What is all of that? And tell us what you're talking about.
Well, when I talk about a prospect, I'm talking about the difference between a suspect and a prospect. Marketing, as we've talked about in so many shows, is all about separating the suspects from the prospects. It's trying to get you better prospects for the salesperson to be able to walk in and have a much better chance at closing a sale. And of course, you can't close a sale unless you're with the person that's going to make the final decision to go ahead and buy or not buy the product. That's not always a purchasing agent. Some people think I just deal with purchasing agents. Well, purchasing agents just buy, but they may be just buying what they're told to be buying by the general manager or the sales manager or the marketing manager. So it's not always just a purchasing agent. You need to understand, particularly in the B2B world, the business to business world, who is going to be involved with the decision. And usually when you're selling to a company, it's more than one person. And you've got to do your work up front. The more work you do up front, the more you're qualifying this prospect and the better chance you're going to be able to go in and close a deal, right? I mean, people buy things because they want something, they have a need for something, they have a problem they're trying to solve. And we'll talk about this more as we get into the sales process itself, you really have to understand what's their problem. And you don't go in thinking you know everything. You do not. You should have a hell of a lot more questions in the early going of an interview than you have answers. You don't have all the answers. If you go in firing out answers, that's just pushy sales, and nobody wants to be sold. But if you're going in there and you're really working with the client and trying to understand what is their problem and trying to, in your own mind, see what you've got that would really fix it for them. And by the way, if you don't have anything, tell them, get out of there. Don't try to sell them something that won't work for them. You also need to know that they have a budget for it. That if your product costs $100,000 and you don't have $100,000, it's still wasting your time, right?
Yeah. And the pain, fear, gain.
Well, there's pain that's here, and you're trying to figure out what the pain or what they're afraid of. And your process is getting to the point of how will they get rid of the pain, overcome the fear by what they're going to buy from you. That's the whole idea. But again, it's all, it goes back to what we've talked about so many times. We have 2 eyes and 2 ears in only 1 month. Oh. So, the universe sent us a message here. Ask some questions, good questions, probing questions. Right. Listen, watch, and it will guide you on how to best serve that customer and close a sale.
Coach is reminding me, in the selling process, say, go back to who's the decision maker, for instance. I remember way back when I first got involved in the selling process, I was afraid to ask.
Most
I
salespeople
admit are. To it. I'm fessing up. I admit to it.
Yep.
I was embarrassed. I thought if any of you feel that way, my advice to you now that I have all this gray hair is forget about it. I'm talking to Cliff and say, Cliff, can you make a decision on this?
Absolutely.
You know what that is? It's called business. Don't worry about it. Don't sweat it. Don't be afraid. Say, are you going to make the decision on this, or are there others involved in the process?
You want to open your eyes, open your ears, and ask some good probing questions, open-ended questions, not just closed-ended yes, no questions that will get the prospect talking to you. Right. That's what you're trying to do in the interview process.
When he talks about, that's what he says, do your homework. I mean, that's
it.
That's part of it. Or if you can find out, if you're talking to an investor, a banker, a vendor, a customer, that doesn't matter. You can ask others, outsiders, say who makes the decision there.
Right. Yeah.
That's another possible way about that. There are other ways to do that, but barring anything else, ask. And the same thing, problem, need, want. Cliff, do you have a problem? Is there something I can help solve?
I understand you might have a problem with such and such. Is that correct? Zip your lip, look, listen, let the prospect talk.
2 ears, 2 eyes, 1 mouth.
4 to 1. Nobody likes to be sold. Nobody likes the pressure of selling. You know, you admitted that you had a problem kind of closing sales.
Yeah.
My problem, quite frankly, was just the opposite. I tended to be a little bit too pushy, and that wasn't good either. You know?
Timing.
Yeah, timing.
Timing.
When should I trial close? We'll get to it.
Your next big point that you're making here is build a relationship. Tell us about that.
Well, I mean, this is people want to buy from people they know, like, and trust, which is right there on the screen. Right. And you're walking in cold. You've never maybe met this person at all. You want to get to know who they are, what their problems are. You can explain a little bit about yourself. You're just trying to create a very friendly atmosphere that, you know what? If I come to a point where I think I can help you, I'm going to be honest with you, Mr. Prospect, and say to you, I don't think my solution is the best one for you. And either I don't know who might be, or I do know who might be, and you're better off than trying to push them into something that they're not going to be happy with in the long run, because you're not going to create a long-term customer if you do that.
Right. And humor. We did a whole show on humor.
Well, we've done several humorous shows anyway.
And
I think most of them are humorous anyway. We just didn't plan it that way.
Well, see. I just got you to chuckle.
Yeah, and that's
a good thing. I just was bantering with you.
Keeps it light.
But see, I didn't tell him a stupid ha-ha joke, off color.
No, don't do that.
I'm not a comedian.
Yeah.
But I just was talking and trying to set up a relationship. I got him to chuckle.
That's the key.
Dad, you don't think that's helpful? That is very helpful.
It really is.
In the communication process. If that other person whom you're speaking to is taking it too seriously or is tense or not tracking with you, all these
Well,
issues.
you can't get to know, like, and trust. And trust is where you're trying to get. Trust is a critically important word.
So don't tell me, say, oh, I can't tell jokes. I mean, you've got to grow up from that position. Is all I can say. But a little humor, not ha, but a little humor in the conversation to soften things and break the ice is always good, right?
You bet.
And speaking of which, here we go, conducting presentations. Let's talk to me about that.
Well, of course, it starts with your planning. I mean, if you're going to go, particularly in the B2B, business to business world, but even in the B2C, business to consumer sales role, you've got to do your pre-planning. You have to do all the research. And by the way, today it's a heck of a lot easier with the internet. You can find out so much about so many companies and so many people sitting in your office with your laptop in front of you. And, it helps you to take your proposal and tweak it a little bit and make it a little bit more specific, hopefully, for that particular client. If you know what you're doing up front, you're going to go in forewarned and forearmed with good material.
Right. And you can't sell nothing if you ain't got no proposal.
And you can't sell nothing if you ain't got no proposal, right?
And if you have the proposal, you ain't getting no proposal if you don't close it.
You got to close a sale.
And you don't close if you don't ask.
Then you ain't going to close it if you don't ask. And the whole idea is a lot of people are uncomfortable, like you said yourself. You were a little uncomfortable with doing it. I probably, like I say, went the other way. Unfortunately, they're both wrong. I was a little too aggressive with press hard, fourth copy's yours, and that doesn't build good relationships. Takes a little bit more time. As a matter of fact, I sold people some things probably I shouldn't have even done it, because I forced them to buy. That's a mistake. It's a huge mistake because that's not going to build a long-term relationship. We've talked about this on other shows. A company's greatest asset is its repeat customer. The customer that's coming back, you don't have to go out and search. You don't have to go out and find them. You don't have to prospect. Your marketing doesn't bring them in. They're already there. And when they continue to buy, that is your most profitable customer.
Coach, you developed what you call a 6-step process.
Yes.
6 steps, and so
I stole most of it from a lot smarter people, and I just kind of cobbled it together because I thought these were good 6 good solid steps to take.
well, it's I was going to say to you during this show that you bring up the subject of sales. The libraries are packed. There are so many books and binders and videos and magazine articles and white papers and conferences and sales training. I mean, it is such a huge deal. And still, having said that, Coach, even today, by my experience, salespeople, 80% of them do a poor job.
Absolutely. They're not salespeople. They're order takers or they're peddlers, insurance salespeople. I don't mean to pick on one. Car salespeople. Those two things turn people off automatically because of the image you have in your head of somebody trying to peddle a car to you, push a car on you. And they're learning. The better dealers are learning. Don't let their people do that type of thing. You start off, you try to build a little bit of a relationship, understand somebody, understand what they really want, need, and desire. Don't be selling right away, right? Help them to understand what they're going to own when they buy it, right? You're looking to make sure they are informed that what you've got to offer is good, but you don't know that until you find out what do they want.
Well, your 6 steps. Here's step 1. Tell us about step 1. Go ahead.
Build a relationship. Stop selling. You're not selling right away.
That's what
okay?
you're just saying.
Help them buy. Understand. Ask some questions. Ask a question. Look. Listen. Right. Make sure they're informed.
Right.
And because when you're informing them, they're informing you, which is even more important.
Right. And then step 2. Tell us what do you got here for
Well, it's
step
okay.
2?
I love this. I say to a client, look, I'm going to make a presentation to you. All right, particularly in the business to business world, B2B world, where I spent an awful lot of time. And by the way, at the end of this, if I don't think it's right for you, you don't have to tell me. You can, but I'm going to tell you. And as far as I'm concerned, if I don't have what's best for you, it's okay. I want you to tell me no. I want to clear the air right away and say to you, I'm not here to sell you at any cost because I'm looking to build a long-term relationship between my company and your company, if we're B2B.
Right.
And it's okay. I want you to say no because I don't want to try to force something on you that you're not going to just automatically love and want to come back to me to buy it again. So if I solve your problem today, are you ready to buy it? That's another very good question. So not only do you have the right to say no,
Right.
but as I dig and ask questions and try to understand what your problem is, my next question is, my question, not my statement, is if I solve your problem, are you prepared to buy, today? Yeah or no. Could be no, I don't know. But it's nice to ask. Say, yeah, if you solve my problem, I'm ready to buy. Terrific.
Then we move on to step 3. Tell us about step 3.
Well, you want to discover what their pain is, what their fear is. You want to explain to them how they will overcome the pain and the fear and gain what you are trying to sell. You need to find compelling reasons, but the only way to find that, you know your product, you know what it'll do, but you really have to get from the client what it is that they want. It may not be a match, and that's why I said the previous thing, it's okay to say no. If this doesn't fit, let's shake hands, and you know what? I might be able to recommend somebody else that has something different for you. At least I can help you, right? And that just keeps a relationship building going the right direction.
I'll tell you what, the knowledge and maturity in this selling process. If it ain't working, get out.
Right.
That you say that if that sounds simple, forget it. That's very difficult because you're there and I'm here and I want to make this sale. I want to make this deal with this banker, with this investor, with this vendor, with this customer, with this employee, and it's a mental discipline to say if there's not a compelling reason, if I haven't discovered that, move on.
You're done. Okay? And it could be them that call it off. It could be me that calls it off.
But that's maturity.
Well, yeah, it is maturity, but that's understanding, you know what? It's not a fit. It's not a good thing. You're not going to have a continuing relationship, even if it's a one-time sale. I don't want to sell somebody something they're not going to be happy with. I'd rather not.
It's also even better for you to say, I could come back at a later time, or if your circumstances change.
Yeah,
can I come back and leave on a good note?
You don't have the budget. You don't have this or whatever. You know what? If this changes, this is how mine would fit with you better.
Yeah.
But right now, I can see it doesn't. And very nice to meet you. And I'm out of here. On to the next one. SW cubed over N. Some will, some won't. So what? Who's next?
But if you're accomplished, you will remember that conversation, and you would come back.
Right.
If you're any good at what you do.
That's right.
True?
Absolutely.
Step 4. Tell us about step 4.
Well, you're looking for commitment. If everything is going well and you're talking to the client and the client is saying, oh, I've got a problem with this, and you know, oh my goodness, my solution for you absolutely is the best thing I can see on the market, and I'm explaining it to you, I'm making a pitch to you, then you want to get a commitment, right? A good thing to do is say, well, is ignoring this or doing nothing an option for you? No, I can't. I've got to do this, all right? Then is it a top priority for you right now to buy? Yes, I've got a problem, and by the end of the month, I've got a whatever, and say, well, I think I've got something that will get you out of the pain, the fear, give you the gain you want. So let me show you what I've got, and let's see if we can do business.
Okay. And then step 5, we're getting increasingly toward the critical part here.
Yeah, right.
Step 5, talk to us about step 5.
Well, I say uncover the decision makers. Of course, you should be doing that up front too. And then once you get into the thing, you want to make sure that you're not wasting your time and talking to some people who are just kicking tires and aren't really going to make the decision. So you might at that point again say, is everybody here who's going to make the decision? One of the things when I said time kills deals, one of the biggest reasons people don't sign on the dotted line at the meeting is, I want to think about it. Well, what is there to think about when I'm gone? The best informer of how I can solve your problem is sitting here right now, and that's me. And that's them saying, I don't believe you. I don't think you've got the best problem solver for me. So you need to understand who the decision makers are. And you want to uncover roadblocks. You want to hear, why aren't they buying? The sale is made by handling objections. I'm going to say that again. The sale is made by handling objections. That's how you make a sale.
Right. By the way, techniques, uncover decision makers, identify them. It just reminded me, in a situation, if I were speaking to you, and I said, other persons who advise you or are involved in the decision, and you say to me, oh yeah, Frank and Peter, Mary, Louise, whoever, whatever. It's not. There's nothing wrong with me saying, Cliff, could we halt for a second and ask Frank and Pete and Louise to come in?
Right.
Or the answer may be no. Say, well, maybe we could schedule a meeting next week. I could come back if they're available.
Well, I want you to tell me all about it. I'll tell them.
Yeah.
Politely, you have to say, look, I know more about it than you do. Okay. I don't like people doing my selling anyway, but I have a client who's going to Washington from here. And one of the things I absolutely pushed on him, I said, just make sure you don't go all the way down there and you speak to the wrong people. Yeah. Make sure everybody who's going to make this decision is in the room, because you know what? Washington isn't exactly a 15-minute car ride. So when you and your team go to Washington, because this is a big sale, this is a 7-figure type deal, you want to make sure everybody's in the room. So you go down there and spend one day in Washington, you make the presentation, you either close the sale or you don't, and hopefully you close the sale. Right. But if you do the work up front, you get a much better shot at it. But somebody's got to be in the room. Everybody who's going to be in on this team decision has to be in the room. Right. Because the one thing you don't want to do is go all the way down there, spend 4 hours making a pitch, and they say, okay, thank you very much, and now we're going to go tell Bob and Mary and Louise, right? They should have been in the room in the first place.
And little details that if that were the case, if you have handouts, for instance, something to hand out, which is typical
You have to
in
have.
selling process. Make sure you have enough for everybody.
Absolutely.
Like, don't forget your business cards.
Oh God, I'll kill you. You will never
Say,
catch.
you do
I
one
don't
of
have
these
a
things.
card.
I don't have a card.
I never even wear this
know.
thing. I carry 30, 40 cards in every single thing I have. Believe me, you cannot. I got them in my briefcase. I've got them on my desk, in the drawers, in every single jacket I wear. I've got 40 business cards.
What do you think the business cards are for in the first place?
It's in for business. That's what I want.
And step 6, Coach. Here's the biggie. Here's the closer. Go ahead. Tell us about step 6.
Well, it is about money. Business is money. Business is all about money. What did you think it was about? I mean, don't be embarrassed or shy about it. It's about the transfer of money, right? You're going to buy something from me. I'm going to sell you something, right? Of course, like I say, and I repeat it, is there a budget for it? You want to make sure there's a budget for it, that you're not going to go in and be talking to a bankrupt company trying to sell them a brand new building or something, right? Be very careful, too, that you're not talking strictly to a price buyer. It's all about price. I don't want to hear you pitch. I don't care how yours fits best with me. We just want the cheapest price in the world. Well, you know what? That's not a way for your company to offer value, to be specific, to sell something to somebody that really fits what they need. If all they care about is price, you can do it over the phone with a telemarketer. You don't need to send a high-powered professional salesman who's looking to make 6 figures. I mean, if they're that good, they're going to make that kind of money. And if they can't make that kind of money with you, they're going to leave you anyway, right? If you don't have enough of a unique value, how many times have we talked in marketing about a unique selling proposition?
Right.
Something that offers great value, more value in a specific form than your competitors. What makes you different? If all you're talking to somebody, I just care about price. I don't want to hear pitch everything. Here's what we need. How much is it? I can do that from my desk at home. I don't need to go to Washington to sell you that.
Right. Well, good. That covers the 6 steps. It's a process.
Yep.
It takes skill and
Yep.
determination
Yep.
and practice.
Yep.
Okay.
Very good.
Good. Thank you for watching Fox Robbins on closing the sale. And feel free to send any comments to foxrobbins@gmail.com. And we will see you guys next time.